The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome in to another episode of Spiritual Philos-o-Chat with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And we're here with episode 46.
Yeah.
Oh, what is the topic?
This is Dolores Cannon.
Dolores Cannon. This is one of my favorites.
I know you've been excited for this one.
I know, because I love her.
Yes.
Cool. Anything about last week before we jump into that?
I do, actually. So last week we talked about angels. And Sherry sent us this, and Sherry loves it when we talk about her on the podcast. So,
hi, Sherry.
Sherry. Okay, so this is one of my favorites so far because of all the signs and synchronicities I experienced while listening. When you said you got all over chills that wouldn't stop, so did I. I kept getting them every time I thought about angels. When Danny got emotional, I did too. I listen on Spotify, usually in my car. I started this episode yesterday while doing errands. As I was walking into the store, I looked down and saw a small white angel feather. This morning, a friend had posted Doreen Virtue angel cards on her page. I listened to the last few minutes while in my car this morning. After the episode was finished, I clicked on the daily mix that Spotify set up for me, and the second song that came on was I'm No Angel by Greg Allman. I don't think I've ever heard that one on Spotify before. Very cool. Cool. They were definitely trying to give her signs. Actually, we talked a little bit. She posted this on the episode on her Facebook.
Oh, cool.
And so we talked a little bit back and forth. And during that, like right after she posted this, she came across another picture of an angel. So she posted that for me. And then I said, well, obviously it's a sign.
Right.
And then she posted again that she talks to angels on the radio. And I was like, that's my song.
Yeah.
And she said, well, that's a sign for you. I said, well, it's a sign for both of us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
So thank you for
Thanks,
sharing
Sherry.
that, Sherry.
Again.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Totally.
Absolutely. And then, so we were, like I said, talking about angels last week, and I had challenged our listeners to do an Archangel challenge. And I haven't checked to see if anybody did that yet, but I did. Do you remember this? That I wanted to see people work with their archangels.
Yes.
So I did this, and I really had good response, I think, from these angels. So there's Raphael, and Raphael handles the health issues and stuff. Mm-hmm. And last Saturday, I woke up with a horrible migraine, and I had a medium circle that night. And I was just feeling so sick. I don't really wake up like that much anymore because I take a preventative. So it was really unusual for me.
Right.
And I was feeling really tired. And so I called upon Archangel Raphael and I said, help me, please. I can't go to my medium circle like this. You have to help me. And so he did. And what I heard very clearly was I had a bird groom that I had to do. Cancel your bird groom, take a nap. And you know what? I hate to reschedule things. I didn't want to reschedule that bird groom because now I have to do it tomorrow or the next day. But I really, really needed that. And I listened to him and I canceled the bird groom and I took a nap and I woke up and I felt better.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've also asked the other angels to come and help me this week. Michael to help me when I'm out working, to protect my car, to, just protect me altogether. And it's you can feel their presence. I've really enjoyed working with them.
Yeah.
A lot. Did you get a chance to do any of that?
Honestly, no.
No.
I hadn't focused on it.
Yeah,
My
that's
bad.
all right.
But I tell you what, on the episode, when you were talking about him, I kind of sat there and I closed my eyes and I called, I kind of summoned him.
Yeah.
And I went through each one as you did that. But him the most is where I became overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I could feel the energy immediately. Like it was like, hello, excuse me, sir, are you there?
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden you're just like, yes,
Yeah.
you needed me. And you just feel like,
It's very overwhelming. I know. I wasn't expecting that either. Because, you always hear about these angels, but I don't know. I never really looked at it as how do you bring these angels in? But you do have to bring them in. You can't just expect that they go to everybody, you know. So once you call them in, they want to work for you. I actually have been working with Gabriel, who's when you work in arts and help people and that type of thing. And I'm working on something new, and I feel like Gabriel's behind me, and I'm not going to share it right now. Right. We'll see how it goes, but I'm working with this angel to help me, to take me where this issue needs to go. Right. Yeah.
Well, you made a really good point just now, and that was that you have to call them in personally. Mm-hmm. They're souls, just like we are, except they're there, we're here. Mm-hmm. They're both, but I thought about that. It would be like the same as walking into a party or a room full of people, and there's somebody that you see there, you don't know them.
Right.
But you've seen them around, so they're a familiar face.
Yeah.
But there's only one way to get to know them, and is you actually have to speak directly to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? They're just not standing in front of you.
Right. Yeah, we can't expect them to help everybody if, you know, if you're not paying attention. You know, why would they come and help? Not that they're rude. They just don't know you until you call them.
Right.
So, and now I have, and it's been a lot of fun. And, and I want to hear if our listeners have too. If you've done this challenge or you will do it this week, message me when you're done and let me know how it went.
Right. I'd like to focus on that a little bit more on my own time.
Yeah. I mean, I tried with all three of them, but maybe it's better to just take one. Mm-hmm. Maybe doing all three is overwhelming for most people. Yeah. Just take one. Something that, you know, if your health is an issue, take that and focus on your health, or, you know, whatever.
I think that night when I went to sleep, I did ask to go speak to them.
Did you?
Directly. Yeah. Each one for kind of each issue.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool.
So.
Yeah. Great.
Cool.
One more thing I want to talk about was, because I just brought up, was my medium circle that I had last weekend.
Yes.
Because I really enjoyed this one, and I wanted to share a couple of things with our listeners, because I know there are a lot of people that listen that are working on building up their abilities. And something that this medium circle did for me was, with each one, I'm getting better. I'm learning what I need to do in these situations and how to handle certain things. But one of the things that I've talked about this that throws me off the most is facial expressions. Mm-hmm. As soon as I see somebody's facial reactions, if it's bad, exactly. Then I'm like, oh, I'm wrong. And then I'll like, what do I do? What do I do? Mm-hmm. And I'm usually not wrong, but I get in my own head. So this time I told them ahead of time, I probably won't look at you. I'll probably have my eyes closed, or I'll be looking up. And it's nothing personal. It's just because facial expressions. And that helped me so much.
It did. I could tell. I could tell when you finally were just slipped into the zone.
Yeah. Yes. It was fantastic. So for anybody that's working on these abilities, that is definitely something that if you're having problems with focusing because of facial expressions, I recommend the closing of your eyes. Also, like Tyler Henry, he scribbles. I didn't get it at first. When I was first a medium, I was like, I don't need to scribble. What's that about? And I don't. But when I'm with people, it changes everything. When I'm just doing it on my phone or, you know.
It's distraction.
But the faces, And something else that I wanted to point out for anybody that does go to a medium or in a situation like this. Basically what this was is a friend of ours that brought a bunch of her relatives and friends, and I did readings for all of them in a circle. And it was really nice. But the first thing that I felt before I even left the house was that there was going to be somebody there that had a dog with aggression issues. Mm-hmm. And so when I first started, I asked, I explained, so who's the person with the dog with aggression issues? And nobody said anything. And I heard our friend kind of chuckling a little bit. I'm like, I don't know. We'll come back to this, right?
Yeah.
And then nobody said anything the whole 2 hours. And then at the very end, one of the girls says, see her over there? That's the one with the aggressive dog. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Of course.
So I wanted to explain that if you ever go to one of these things and a medium says something like that and you don't want to address it, please at least acknowledge the fact that it's for you. If you don't want to talk about it at that point, it's okay. But what happens is when you don't acknowledge that it's for you, it throws the medium off.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, well, that was so clear. Am I not connected? Am I going to go, is this going to be bad?
Right.
I didn't let that happen to myself.
Yeah, you did great with it.
But It can
and
happen.
it came forward at the end.
Yeah, at the end. But, if these people all knew each other in the room. So they knew, actually, they all knew that this girl had an aggressive dog. You and I were the only ones that didn't.
Yeah.
So at least they knew, but if it would have been like a room full of people that didn't know each other, and I would have said who has the aggressive dog, and nobody would have stood up, some people might have been like, ew.
Question it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I say if you ever see one of these go into a situation, don't be afraid to speak up. And if you don't want to deal with it, just say, you know what? I don't want to deal with it right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure. Yeah. But it was a great experience. I had so much fun.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Great host.
Yes.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen. It was fantastic, and can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah, it was fun.
She made me chocolate-covered strawberries.
Oh, that was delicious. There was a lot of good snacks.
Yeah, that was really nice.
She has great energy. She's fun, but she's always, every time I've been around her, and, she's always been that way.
Yeah. She's wonderful.
Cool.
So that's my recap.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's get on to your favorite topic.
Episode 46, Dolores Cannon.
Dolores Cannon.
Yes.
So the way that we came across Dolores Cannon, I don't know how much of this you remember, but it was actually really interesting because
I want to see if you tell this correct.
Okay. Well, I'll tell my side of it.
Okay.
But I was looking for different meditations, guided meditations, and I found one that I thought you would really like.
Yep.
So I sent it to you, and then I think from there you went to another video.
Yeah, I just scrolled up,
Yeah.
which was like the next. She came up as like, you might be interested in this.
Yeah. And then you went to see what that was all about, and that was it. That was all she wrote. You were addicted. And I got home and you started telling me all about her, and I had never heard anything about her.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's like was brought to us. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but I specifically remember kind of when you were channeling your mom asking, is this true? Is this correct? And she was like, yeah, pretty much. It's all true. And these were things I was asking when you first found out.
Right. Yes.
The questions that I was asking about the universe and, other life and the angels around us, our loved ones. And some of these, she was like, you have to find out on your own. I can't answer some of these questions. And so
Dolores answered a lot of them.
She did. There's two steps that have happened here for me is that there was the spiritual awakening part, which is kind of leaves you in like just it's that new feeling. And that does kind of wear off a little bit because this becomes my reality now. You wish you could capture that, but there's definitely moments that you get the chills again. And,
it's just not all as crazy as at first.
And it's just a matter of how much you're paying attention and opening your mind to it. So, but yeah, some of them weren't, and she definitely did answer the second phase of that.
Yes.
Besides the spiritual awakening was, okay, that's great, but what the heck is going on?
You're right.
Okay, that's what I want to know is what is going on.
And you know what? When this happened, you were having a rough time with that because the spiritual awakening had started, like you said, and then we were getting to a point almost where we were like, okay, well, there's got to be more to this, and kind of doubting a little bit. We're still human and go through those doubting phases, and then Dolores came in, and it brought you back. I remember that. It was amazing. But up until that point, we weren't really sure about reincarnation. It wasn't something we were sold on. And then after we started watching Dolores' videos and listening to her books, it makes perfect sense now. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about Dolores and some of her books. And then later on, we'll do other episodes. I mean, maybe even, coming up soon about some of those books in particular, because they're, all really good books. Let's see. So let me first talk a little bit about Dolores. Well, we found her actually, the first ones that we watched were about Nostradamus. That's what kind of sucked us in. I've always had a fascination with Nostradamus. And then she started talking about, we went into other videos about the universe and what happens when you pass and those types of things. So that's, So
I'll say from the beginning, just Dolores as a person, what struck me grabbed me about her is that she was not, other than a hypnotist therapist, she, or was not psychic. She was not
Yes.
medium. She had no special gift.
Yep.
She simply put people under hypnosis and talked to them.
Yep.
Talked to their subconscious. She happened to stumble on her career
Exactly. And I'm going to
through that.
we're going to learn all about that right now. So, everything that I'm about to read was taken straight from Dolores's website at dolorescannon.com. So we'll talk about each section, I'll read them and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So let's see. This is about her early life in pre-hypnosis. Dolores Cannon was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1931, where she lived and grew up with her family until completing her academic studies in 1947. She married her husband, Johnny, in 1951, a career U.S. naval man with whom she spent the next 21 years traveling all over the world to accommodate his various overseas assignments. She raised her family as a typical Navy wife throughout the 1950s and 60s until 1968, when several major events ultimately changed the course of her life forever. In the 1960s, Dolores and Johnny were using simple hypnosis for habits like stopping smoking, losing weight, etc. Doris was first introduced to reincarnation in 1968 when she and her husband were asked by one of the doctors at the naval base he was stationed at in Texas to help one of his patients using hypnosis. The woman suffered from nervous eating disorder, was extremely obese, had high blood pressure, and suffered from kidney problems. The doctor thought it would be extremely beneficial if hypnosis could be used to help this woman. Midway through the session, the woman unexpectedly began describing scenes from a past life where she was a flapper living in Chicago in the Roaring '20s. Dolores and Johnny watched as the woman literally transformed into a different personality with different vocal patterns and body mannerisms. Despite being highly strange and completely inexplicable, they decided to go with the flow of the session and see what they could find out by exploring. Over the next several months, Dolores and Johnny regressed the woman through 5 different and distinct lives. This is where her first book comes in, and this is called 5 Lives Remembered.
Great book.
I'm listening to it now. It actually, what's interesting about this book, a lot of her books, is that this was the first book she wrote, but it wasn't the first book that was published. She actually had, I think it was five or six books before the Nostradamus ones were written, and that was the ones that got her published.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go on with more about her. Let's see. These sessions took place at a time when past life regression was a nearly unheard of concept. There was no New Age movement, yet metaphysics was still decades away, and there were simply no books, instructions to guide, or resources she could use for a case like this. This, however, proved to be a blessing in disguise, as it prompted Dolores and Johnny to write their own set of rules, develop their own techniques without oversight from an established medical body, and meant that they were not limited or confined in their approach in any way. As a result of not having anyone to tell her what to do, how to do it, or what was or was not possible, they experimented with intrigue and enthusiasm. Later the same year, Johnny was almost killed by a drunk driver in a horrendous automobile accident on his way to the naval base. As a result of his injuries and being confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life as a partial amputee, Dolores and Johnny decided to relocate to the hills of Arkansas, where they thought they would be able to afford living on a military pension with their 4 children. During this time, Dolores' explorations in hypnosis and reincarnation took a back seat as she was completely focused on her husband and raising her kids. I really relate to Dolores a lot because she knew nothing about what she was doing. Do you know what I mean? She was like a pioneer.
Yeah, she was like an explorer.
And her husband, too. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but he ended up, I'm not sure if they go into this more, but he ended up stopping.
Yes. And I could imagine, what he went through.
Yeah.
It's probably horrific. It's a life-changing experience and really sad. However, she built off of John's technique.
Yes.
And she really perfected it in a way that pretty much became foolproof and started to become used as kind of a standard among hypnotist therapists that do this kind of work.
Yes.
And so she's really highly credited in that field with those people, her peers. But what I found interesting in the 5 Lives Remembered is not only does she take this woman through 5 lives, but she also takes her through death.
Yes.
And the other side.
That was
and
the first time they'd done that.
This is where the mind-blowing information starts to come from.
Yes.
It's really interesting to hear somebody live, some life connected to somebody that you knew, or we all know Al Capone or whoever it was. The one about Nostradamus, which a person that studied, that she put this person under, and they happened to study with Nostradamus in the 17th century.
Yeah.
And he informed her that you weren't actually talking to me in the past. You were talking to me in the present.
Yeah.
So then that brought forward different theories about simultaneous time.
Yeah, I think they get into that a little bit more in here because we're not quite to that stage in her life yet. But let me go into more because it is really interesting.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Okay, once her children had grown and left home to start their own lives, Dolores decided to begin consistently practicing hypnosis again with clients in the 1970s. Although she lived in a small country town with a very small population, she was able to successfully attract a diverse range of clients due to her desire to take on any case regardless of the circumstances. Her early work was heavily focused on reincarnation, which got her acquainted and comfortable with the concept of time travel. Many of her early clients described scenes from past lives where they had lived in past decades, past centuries, and even past millennia in a variety of social settings in different locations all over the earth. She would then spend weeks researching the characteristics of life in the locations and the time periods her clients had described living in to verify the authenticity of the results she was recording. Dolores would ensure the food they ate, the clothing they wore, the language they spoke, the money they used, the jobs they described, the social norms they abided by, the entertainment they enjoyed, the religious philosophies they believed in, and the geographical scenery they described were all typical of what life would have been like in that particular time. It was through her vigorous verification process that Dolores ensured the authenticity of her results.
Right.
That's what got me.
Yeah.
When you listen to these, so I was listening to the 5 Lives Remembered, and this is the one where they talk to, what is her name, Anita, I believe, and
I don't
something
really
like that.
remember her name.
And the first life that they go into, she's Al Capone's mistress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is all like totally brand new for them. They totally sucked me in with all of this,
That was, when I started to, I even guessed before they said who it was. I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm willing to bet that's who they're talking about.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
So, no, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
What I have a problem with, because I will lose my train of thought, is that there were a lot of details that they were going back over. And I understand why they were doing it. Like, they would ask her in one session, what color was the house you lived in? And then in another session, if she said red, they would ask her in another session the same question, maybe just worded a different way. Like, so it was a blue house that you lived in, like trying to lead. And those are the areas where, for me, the consistency, and you hear these in these books and they explain them, that's where the importance is. It drives me crazy because I feel like, get to the point. I want the Cliff Notes version.
But it's really important.
But it is. I totally get it. They had to do that. And she really is,
And really, I mean, when you think about what she's built this career on and she's admitted herself, as I'm just a reporter.
Yes.
I just report what was said in the sessions when the people are under.
Yes.
Sometimes she would share it with the people, and sometimes if they asked, she'd share it with them. If they didn't, because some of the information was pretty heavy.
Yes.
I mean, really out there.
Yes, her books get a little bit wild.
Yeah.
They do. I tried to skip. I tried to jump from the first one to like the 8th one because what's it called?
Convoluted Universe.
Convoluted Universe. And I was like, oh, this one sounds really good. But she says even in there that you need to listen to the one about the aliens first. But I was like, no, I'm just going to go to this one first. And I got lost. but because I want to hear about all the crazy things that I don't know about yet, like the Bermuda Triangle, and you know, I have suspicions of these things, but I want to hear them.
She's, like I said, she was like a very big part of that second phase for me of starting to really understand what's going on. And the truth is that this universe or universes are much more magical and mysterious than, and not in bad ways, than we could ever imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Than we could ever imagine.
Something about Dolores, I'm not sure if they get into it in this, because I have listened to a lot and done a lot of reading, is she talks about how the other side and the universe and everybody that she's worked with took it in stages for her. And that that's the same thing that's happening for me. They don't throw everything out to you all at once because you couldn't handle it. And you have to learn these things in an order. So one of the reasons that I've skipped books is because I don't feel that I'm ready to listen to the alien books yet, because I'm not there. But I do feel one day I will be there. And listening to her and how she went through her process, it was the same kind of thing. They just slowly handed things to her. Every time that a different concept was mastered, they would give her something else. And that's why each one of her books, it's like progressively getting better, because they're like, okay, now you've learned that there is another side and that you can see, you know, the dying process, because that was the first book. Then they gave her more, and then they gave her more.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is. And you know what? It's not done either. Her daughter also is still continuing to do this research. But I know I've connected to Dolores that she wants this to continue. She wants her research continued because there's a lot more that she didn't even get into.
Right. And she covered a lot. So I would be like, well, what else is it? I mean, because she answered a lot of questions, because I feel like you have science and religion that want to argue over dates and facts about the existence of the world and the universe and other universes and things like that. And it really, I'm not going to say it's like it's an easy read, because it requires opening your mind. Yeah. But really answers the question for me that, well, why isn't it all relative?
Right. And you do start to open that over time. You have to have an open mind, and your mind does slowly start to open. Like, one of the reasons that I say that I'm not really ready for the aliens book yet is because I feel like there's some things that my brain just hasn't grasped yet. And that happens a lot with humans, because we try to think of things so logically that if we don't know it, if nobody that we've talked to knows it, that it doesn't exist. And that's where your brain has to change, that you have to open it and say, I'm going to give this a chance and make my own determination for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the alien ones, but that I love that topic anyways. I eat it up, nom, nom, nom.
I do too. I just feel like I need to get to a point where I can comprehend it better. Yeah. I'm just not there yet. Yeah. It all fascinates me. It's just like, I guess on my journey, it's not, I'm not there. Yeah. There's a few things that I feel like that of. And then I feel like there's a lot of things that they've thrown at me that I didn't even know existed. So I wonder, what else don't I know? And I think that's where Dolores is going, is that there's a lot that we don't know. And if we can continue to open our minds, that we could probably open even more of this.
Yeah. And I mean, it helped me kind of just understand that just like we have multiple races of people on this planet, and that's not by accident. Yeah. That there's multiple races in the universe, and standing across our galaxy, looking towards Earth, the people on that planet are looking at us going, over there, those are aliens. We're all aliens, for crying out loud. Yep. We're beings.
In the convoluted universe, they actually talk about why they came to Dolores, why the other side of the universe is using Dolores, and they talk about how trustworthy she was and how they knew that she wouldn't mess this up and try and make it bad. And that was something that was very important to her, that she was very on her reporting, very accurate on what she reported on.
Yes, she was very thorough, and like you said, would ask the same question different ways. Yes, and would sometimes frustrate the person, or the person the life that they were talking to.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
They would get frustrated, like, "Are you silly? I've already answered that question."
Yeah, there was one I think it was the Al Capone's mistress that Dolores asked, "What year is it?" And she goes, "You don't know what year it is because their subconscious is there."
Right.
So when she does this past life regression, they're actually experiencing it and it's coming out like they're there. Most of the time, these people that she hypnotizes, they don't remember any of it because your subconscious takes over. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. So let's go on with more about Dolores.
Okay.
Her early understandings of reincarnation seem rather simplistic compared to how far her work has evolved. However, in looking back at where she started and how she received the information, Dolores realized they were starting slowly to lay the foundation upon which she would understand, communicate, and explain far more challenging and complex ideas and concepts that she would be receiving in the future. Having conducted sessions with thousands of clients, recording the same results time and time again, and spending vast amounts of time and energy verifying the authenticity of her clients' past lives, Dolores was able to decisively conclude that her results were indeed genuine and that she had tapped into an incredibly powerful source of information. As she explored further, she gradually became aware that the information she was receiving about past lives, different periods in time, and a variety of other topics were not actually coming from the conscious minds of the clients she was hypnotizing. This is where it gets interesting. Mm-hmm. Just as developing her techniques of hypnosis came slowly and with great patience, so too did the answers to these questions. This is kind of what I was talking about. After many years of patience and investigation, Dolores eventually realized that the memories of past lives and the additional information she was receiving through clients was being supplied by a much larger, more powerful, and more knowledgeable portion of the client's selves, with their conscious minds were completely unaware existed. Mm-hmm. She decided to label it the subconscious, as it was a part of every person's mind that actually exists but lays just below the level of our conscious minds observing. When conducted and communicated with, there is simply no question it cannot answer about an individual's current life or about any of the past lives. After developing and refining her techniques over many years, replacing time-consuming and tedious induction methods with an approach that involved the use of voice, imaginary, and visualization, Dolores established her quantum healing hypnosis technique. This technique enables direct contact and communication with the subconscious of any individual for answers to any questions and can also provide the basis of instant healing. So this course, this quantum healing hypnosis, you can take this course online. Yeah. I'm sure it's very expensive. It looks very complicated.
I have a little bit left, but I was reading her daughter's book.
Oh, yeah. I love her daughter, too. About Julia Cannon.
Yeah, Julia Cannon. About that. Uh-huh. So it's cool.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about chakras. I think they did talk about that, the chakra energy points. And so it was pretty much right along the lines of what you were saying, and that you can go into those areas and heal certain things that are going on with your body.
Yes, I can't remember what the name of that book is, Sacred something. But if you search for Julia Cannon, it really does. It gets into how like anger can cause cancer. Oh, and there's all kinds of things. So that's a good listen as well.
But what I really loved, and you kind of tapped on that too, is during these books and the reporting, not only was she reporting, but she's researching, because some of these clients and these past life regressions that she's doing, they're talking about locations and dates and times, and she would research to find out geographically, are we talking about the right location? Are we talking about the right timeline? Boop, boop, boop. And most of them, all of them line up.
Mm-hmm. After we started learning about Dolores, we started doing some past life regression therapy. It's like self-hypnosis. Mm-hmm. We both did it.
I got into it.
Yeah. And I think we talked about it in the reincarnation episode a little bit, but you actually do step into the life that you lived. Mm-hmm. And you can, like for mine, I verified, because what I believe happened was that I died at Pearl Harbor. I have a horrible, not a fear of war, but I don't like anything war related at all. And I've never understood why. And now I know why, because I was killed in war. It makes perfect sense, But I could tell you exactly what my uniform looked like. And then I went and I looked it up, and it was right. It was right on. Everything was correct. I could tell you like the year that it was, they change them all the time.
Right.
So you can go specifically down to that. I even heard a couple of names and looked them up. And one of the names that I heard, it is very possible there was somebody that died in Pearl Harbor with that name. So going back and verifying these things definitely helps you to see, that they are real. I mean, there's only so much history that we have behind us and far back we can go, but she did a great job with her research.
Yeah, and I mean, it got me really interested, as far as, again, when working with your mom, I said, have I been here before? And she said, oh, yeah, many times.
Yes, we all have, I believe.
The more that you go, you can almost, like sense it in different areas of your life. Like, I'll give deja vu maybe as an example, or just some familiarity of something.
Right.
That you can't really explain.
Yeah, you don't know why you know it or how, or, people that you might feel a connection to that you're like, man, I swear I know this person.
Like we went when we did the Winchester Mansion, which we did an episode on, that when you asked me what are those things in the corner, I just said it like
you knew what it was.
Like I'd been around that era or those houses, and that it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's weird.
So now we're going to go on to talking about her books.
Cool.
Even though we've done a little bit of that. So as her understanding of reincarnation developed and her abilities to take on more challenging concepts expanded, Dolores came across a female client who was an exceptional hypnosis subject. Dolores was able to take her back through 25 separate lifetimes by jumping backward in time in 100-year increments. Each personality the woman displayed in each life was distinctly different to the others, and it was a truly remarkable way for Dolores to explore history and life in different time periods. She wrote 2 books based on the work with this client. The first book was The Soul Remembers Hiroshima, which reports the life of a man who describes his experiences as a Japanese man in Hiroshima in 1945 when the atomic bomb was dropped on the city in World War II.
Wow.
This shocking account of the dropping of an atomic bomb from the perception of a person who was there provides a chilling lesson into the horrific effects of war and nuclear weapons. The second book was Jesus and the Essenes. I think this is your favorite so far.
It's, incredible.
Yeah. Which describes the life of a young man who was an Essene teacher of Jesus. Many truths about Jesus himself, his personality, his background, his life, and the times he lived in are revealed in this fascinating account of a teacher who describes her personal relationship with Jesus in loving detail. Dolores also published The Walk with Jesus as a follow-up to this book, which describes the past lives of 2 women who accompanied Jesus throughout different periods in his life. I don't think you've read that one yet.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, that one sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Throughout the evolution of her career, reoccurring theme is for Dolores to reach a comfort zone and understanding regarding a particular area. This is what I was talking about, that I really relate to this. Then a new concept may be introduced to her by the subconscious, which often completely challenges her belief system and forces her to expand her way of thinking. As an example of such an occurrence was when the subconscious put forth the idea that time does not really exist as man identifies it. Every moment is now. The past, present, and future only exist in the now. Yeah. That is a mind-blowing concept. That is very hard to...
past, present, and future only exist in the now.
This is where my brain melts.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
But so, because it's not what we're taught,
Yeah, exactly. Another example of having to expand her belief system was when her interest directed her to investigate what happens in between one life and another. The findings of this quest were published in Between Death and Life, and eloquently described what happens at the point of death when we go after a life, how we look back on our life and analyze our lives once they are complete, and what the purpose of a life was. I loved that book. That was my favorite.
Which one was that again?
That was Between Death and Life.
Yes, that was great.
Because it really goes into what happens after you die and what goes on over there. I would highly recommend that one.
What is there,
Yes.
It's,
and I
was
think
a great book.
There's a couple of these books that I think we should do episodes on, and Jesus and the Essenes, and possibly the one, we'll have to maybe listen to both of them and see if they go together and put them in one episode. But also this one, because this one, the Between Death and Life, I learned a lot in that. And I was already a medium for over a year, I believe, before I started listening to these, and I really learned a lot in that one.
It's amazing because I was thinking as you were sharing a minute ago that, she says that she realizes using the subconscious to answer all these questions, right? Mm-hmm. She's using the subconscious through each one of these individuals and their lives. But what starts to become apparent is that the other side knows they're guiding her on the research that she's doing to bring this information forward.
Yes.
It's like collective subconscious.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like as soon as she taps in through that person, the other side, all those people or whatever, that energy's waiting for her to give her each lesson.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just mind blowing.
It really is, isn't it?
I love it.
It's a convoluted universe. That's why I was like,
it is.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Nostradamus because this is a big part of her research. In the early 1980s, Dolores came across a fascinating case where she regressed a woman who began describing a life where she was a student of French prophet Michael de Nostradame, more commonly known as Nostradamus. Nostradamus is famous for writing prophecies, proclaiming events of great destruction and devastation throughout history. Indeed, his abilities were incredible as he predicted the assassination of JFK, the attack of the flying birds in the city of Hollow Mountains, referring to September 11th, and the ensuing war in the Middle East, to name a few. Midway through the session, as the woman was describing the life, her personality suddenly subsided, and Nostradamus himself began speaking through her directly to Dolores. He told her that he wanted her to write a book, which turned out to be 3 books, to provide humanity with greater understanding and clarification of the true meanings of his prophecies. Building on what was discussed in the previous section about the concept of time, it is important to note that one of the fascinating features of Dolores' dialogue with Nostradamus was that he spoke with her directly from his time as he lived in the 16th century.
Yes.
It was not his spirit communicating from the other side, but rather Nostradamus himself communicating as he was living his life in France. My mind exploded when I heard that for the first time. And
another interesting point about that is they created a way between the two of them to schedule times to talk to each other.
Yes, I think it goes into that. Okay, so moving on, it says, he describes that as a result of his prophecies, he was forced to disguise his messages so that they were not destroyed and they could be deciphered later in time. As a result of how the French language has evolved, modern-day interpreters have contributed to misrepresenting many of the true meanings. Nostradamus' intentions were to correct those misinterpretations by dictating the true meanings of his vision to Dolores to publish for the world. He wished to warn us so that we understood we are the ones creating our future, and that it was our choice to simply take a different path, thus averting the worst scenarios he foresaw.
Yep.
One of the most powerful and chilling messages was, if I tell you the worst things that your minds are capable of creating, would you do anything to change it? Nostradamus speaks in great detail how our minds work to create the reality we experience. In recognizing this, it is easy to understand how the constant barrage of global media outlets and negative information regarding politics, education, etc., and the environment help many people focus on these scenarios in their lives. We don't watch the news. We don't watch much TV. I don't want anything to do with it because they really do subliminally, even not subliminally, try and put all these things into your head, and then what's in your head is what you create.
Yep.
Stop creating.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. After several years of working with Nostradamus dictating the true, intended meanings of his messages, Dolores published 3 books in a series entitled Conversations with Nostradamus, detailing the precise meanings of 1,000 of his predictions directly from the prophet himself. That's a lot of predictions.
Yeah.
Prophecies discussed include the creation of supercomputers, the rise of the internet. This is all before this stuff happened, too.
Oh, yeah.
That she wrote this book. Erratic weather patterns, earth changes, and the effects these changes will have on major countries and cities. The AIDS epidemic originating in monkeys and its deliberate spread by world governments. The list goes on and on and on of the things that she was able to get to find out about his prophecies, because they are really confusing. And the reason why they were so confusing is because of the time that he lived in. He had to write them that way, because if anybody found those prophecies, they would know what they meant and know that he was a psychic, and
this I
they
think
would
was
kill him.
believed during the time of the Inquisition.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So he would have been tortured.
He would have been tortured.
Ridiculously.
Not good. Not good. So then she wrote all the books that we talked about with the UFOs. There's a whole bunch of these. Legacy from the Stars. There's Legend of the Star Crash. A whole bunch of them where she gets into aliens. And then after more than 30 years of investigating and writing about concepts ranging from life and death, reincarnation and origins of humanities, UFOs and extraterrestrials, and a wide variety of other topics, Dolores began to realize that the information she was receiving was too broad and too diverse to categorize into one or even several specific areas.
Right.
As she had to adapt to change her entire career, she decided to publish her new work in a series entitled The Convoluted Universe. Dolores has currently published 5 volumes and states that these books are for those people who want to have their minds bent like a pretzel. I want to have my mind bent like a pretzel.
Yeah.
But I still need to understand. Topics covered include the power of the human mind, what consciousness really is, the power of our thoughts, ancient history, Earth's mysteries such as the Bermuda Triangle, Stonehenge, the Loch Ness Monster, details the experiences of people who were regressed to lives on other planets, beings who were made entirely of energy, how reality is merely a holograph, how we are fragments of multifaceted souls, lives in non-human bodies such as plants and animals. The list goes on again. I'm so excited to listen to those, but I guess I gotta listen to the alien ones first.
Do it.
I know.
Well, there's other ones too. Like, didn't you listen to Custodians or what? I
didn't listen to Custodians yet because that is an alien book. Yeah. I don't remember. I think that it's just the 5 lives.
Keepers of the Garden.
Keeper of the Garden I did listen to, and I stopped because that was the first alien one, and I lose my train of thought really easily, and that one didn't keep my attention because I need the Cliff Notes version. So,
but you did read Custodians of the Galaxy?
I don't know. I don't remember. There was one alien, the first alien book, Keepers of the Garden. That one is the one I listened to. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then finishing up about Dolores and her life, Dolores Cannon was transitioned from this world on October 18th, 2014, left behind incredible accomplishments in the field of alternative healing, hypnosis, metaphysics, and past life regression, but more impressive of all was her innate understanding that the most important thing she could do was to share information, to reveal hidden or undiscovered knowledge vital to the enlightenment of humanity and our lessons here on Earth. Sharing information and knowledge is what mattered most to Dolores. That is why her books, lectures, and unique method of hypnosis continue to amaze, guide, and inform so many people around the world. Dolores explored all these possibilities and more while taking us along on the ride of our lives. She wanted fellow travelers to share her journey into the unknown.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless Dolores. You know, I really mean that.
Really,
for her daughter to continuing and really embracing her mom's life and work and continuing that.
Well, and Julia Cannon, her daughter, is not just carrying on her work, but she has developed them into being a psychic and medium and healer. So she can do all of those things. Dolores was not a psychic. There was something that I read that said that when she talked to Nostradamus, he could talk to her himself without having to use a third party. But as far as anything else goes, I haven't read anything that says that she directly communicated with the other side without that person in the middle, the hypnosis person.
Right.
So she wasn't a psychic. She wasn't a medium. She didn't even really probably believe any of this until she stumbled upon it.
She was a Midwest Navy housewife.
If you haven't seen a picture of Dolores, you should go look because she's so homely,
like
and
grandma looking.
Total, yeah. She lived in Arkansas. Total, like Arkansas. You know, not that I'm, classifying, but she just has this really sweet demeanor about her when she talks. If you listen to any of her lectures, because she doesn't narrate her own books, she's passed. But like if you go on YouTube, you can see a lot of stuff that she's done. Her voice and her demeanor is like she's so excited about sharing this knowledge. And I love that.
But she's not over the top, but she's she's excited.
She is excited.
She's
like when somebody gets excited, she goes, I know, can you believe it? Or, just little things like, I couldn't have imagined this either.
I so wish I could have met her.
Me too.
Right.
I really do. Cool. In that convoluted universe, she talks about how she would go to book signings and meet with people, and she always wanted to talk to all the people, but she couldn't. It gets too busy, especially when you have that much going on.
And she's older. It was a lot on her, I'm sure.
Yeah. But there was one woman that was so drawn to her, and she didn't know why. The woman wasn't interested in, past life regression. She didn't need healing. It wasn't anything like that. She just felt this draw to Dolores so strong that she went to her book signing and was like, I need you to regress me because I don't know why. Like, they're pulling me to you. And that's where the convoluted universe starts. I haven't gotten much farther in it, but it's really cool because this lady was so drawn to her, and we were the same way. Like, we knew nothing about her, and then all of a sudden it's like, Dolores Cannon. She changed it for us,
It was such a fresh breath of air. It really was.
Yeah, really. So,
and an incredible amount of knowledge, of understanding of what I'm really a part of here.
And you know what else she kind of proved? Because it was, I can't remember when she started doing this work in particular, how old she was, but it was later in her life when she started doing the past life regression therapy. And this is a good thing to show people like ourselves that are following our dreams in an older stage, because it can happen. And Dolores, for me, is a good reminder of that. And even though, like, for me, I feel like I've lost so much time and I wish I had more so that I can do more in the future. But, like, I see now, like, from Dolores' standpoint, she's still teaching through her daughter. She wants to teach through other people like myself. So she's still involved. And so that makes me feel better, like, that I'll still be involved.
She's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
She's a wonderful person.
I really feel like she helped me understand so many things.
Yep.
I
agree.
And put my mind at ease about a lot of things.
Yes. Because that's the other thing, is that she is so just average, normal person, that when you hear her talk about these things, if you don't know anything about him and maybe you're like, turned off a little bit by him and you hear her talk, it's like having your own mother talk to you and tell you, look, this is what's going on out there. And, it really, she has this way of teaching and making you feel comfortable that she really knows what she's talking about.
And no sense of like any worry about what anybody thinks.
No.
That's what I love about her.
No.
It's just like, I'm just here to report what I've documented.
She specifically says in one of these books, I think it was Between Life and Death, that one of her goals is to make it so that when people are going through their process, that they're getting ready to die, that they're not afraid. I had already felt
That's so important.
But I think this can do that for a lot of people. Because that is important. Like for me, we talk about the day that you pass. We've already, we're setting up things that in the future when it does happen, you can tell me right away, I need to know this when you get there.
I'm like, God, I need to take a nap.
But isn't that such a better way of looking at it than, oh my God. I mean, I obviously want you to stay with me forever.
Right.
But when our time comes, it comes. And all of our time is going to come. And I don't dread it anymore. I don't want it to happen anytime soon. But when the day comes, I know that I'll be laying there going, I'm so ready for you guys to take me.
Yeah, I have a feeling I will be too.
Yeah,
you know?
instead of like being scared, like, where am I going?
Right.
What's going to happen?
No, it's sort of more is revealed to you as you get older, even in those last moments.
Yep.
You know, and I've been around people and watched people pass away.
Yeah.
And I've seen the same sort of kind of expressions and as if they are seeing things and being told things. And they just look like they're in complete awe.
Yep, because they are.
Yeah, and that really put my mind at ease because, death was a scary thing, and I think it is a scary thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then when I learned about reincarnation and that became the truth for me, I was like, oh, man, you kidding me?
Back here.
I gotta go. But, no.
You're going to get bored.
This so far has been an amazing journey, and I'll do it again.
Yes. I just wish I had the knowledge going into the next life that I have now. And I say this often that I feel like we're only 2 years into this and look at what we know already. Can you imagine in 20 years what we're going to know? Yeah. And we have it all documented too in this show. And I love that we're watching this transpire. And I can't wait till we learn more and more and can share it with our listeners because we love, just like Dolores, to spread that knowledge.
And I hope it can put, some faith and hope in people that are listening.
Yep.
It is just your perception and your belief.
It is, for sure.
And you can really do just about anything you want to.
This is true, too.
So, yeah, it's scary and risky to put yourself out there and say, hey, guess what? We're going to do this.
Right.
And, but it doesn't matter to me.
No.
Because I know the truth.
Exactly. Me either. And I think Dolores, too, that she, whatever, I'm going to do my work because this is important work and just shoot off the naysayers.
I really admire that about her.
I do too.
Don't have any sense of any sort of insecurity or worry from her when I watch her or listen to her. She's just like, I'm just reporting what I've been told.
Right. Yeah. I'm just sharing.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
I love that.
Dolores.
I wish I could hug her.
I know, me too.
I could feel her here, though.
Oh, yeah. When I was doing this research, I felt her for sure.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And we'll do more about her books and stuff because she's definitely, we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, check her out, folks, if you haven't and you're open to this. It's
YouTube
amazing.
Has some great stuff.
Yeah, YouTube has some really good stuff.
Yeah, because you can see like her sit down and do the lectures or whatever, and people ask her questions. Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite ones where people ask questions.
I really wish we could have got to do that.
I know, me too.
Yeah. Maybe her daughter does it sometimes. I don't know. I'm
sure she does. I'll have to look into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yay.
Cool. Well, that is it. And before we say goodbye, I want to share any of your information.
Sure. So you can find me on the web at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. Everything you need to know is there. If you'd like to send us anything for the show, spiritualjoneses@gmail.com is our show email.
Sweet. Good job.
Yay.
And if you like art, djonesartcollection.com on the web and Facebook and Instagram at djonesartcollection. Music, gypsybrown.com on the web, Facebook, Gypsy Brown Band, at Gypsy Brown Band, and Instagram at Gypsy Brown Music.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Wonderful.
Well, we hope everybody has a great week. We really appreciate you listening to this week. Go check out Dolores.
Yes.
If you have some time.
Do it.
And we hope you tune in with us next week.
We will see you then.
Until then, peace and love.